We are Rogue Media Sports.
Welcome. It is a Friday edition of The Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week. We're talking Boston sports and pretty much nothing but. Today, we will talk about Drake Maye. Is he ready to take that leap and become a top 10 quarterback in this league? Some analysts think so. Plus, we'll talk about, all week, I was like, man, well, the Bruins going to wait out this Dallas thing to see if they fire Pete DeBoer. Then they hire Marco Sturm yesterday, and I'm like, they probably aren't going to fire Pete DeBoer anyway. Pete DeBoer just got fired. Did the Bruins really miss out, or were they not going to get him anyway? Plus, we'll bring in Zach later on in the show. We will talk about each of our top 3 rematches in sports history, as we now sit through a rematch of the Stanley Cup final between the Oilers and the Panthers. All that and more coming up on this episode of The Cam Show. But we start where we start. The thumbnail. Drake Maye, top 10 quarterback in 2025. Can Drake Maye be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL in 2025? Because a lot of analysts seem to think that he can be. And a lot of analysts seem to think he's got everything going his way right now as we sit here in June, when things are typically all going your way in the NFL. I think that is a huge jump. And I feel like I've become some sort of a Debbie Downer by thinking that Drake Maye isn't going to have this elite season in 2025. But let's go over what the people are saying. Because, of course, I'm excited about Drake Maye. And he impressed me. He impressed everybody as a rookie, right? Even with the cards he was dealt, the hand he was dealt, right? With the worst offensive line in the league, the worst wide receiver room in the league again, a head coach who didn't know what the hell he was doing, an offensive coordinator that didn't know what the hell he was doing. Like, there was nothing going Drake Maye's way in 2024. And still, he looked pretty impressive. He becomes an alternate at the Pro Bowl. That's a Pro Bowl on your resume. He looked good. The problem with it is, he had another quarterback in his draft class who was taken one spot ahead of him, who was the Rookie of the Year and made the NFC Championship game. Thankfully for Drake Maye, he had a quarterback taken 2 spots ahead of him at number 1 overall in the draft, who looked pretty mid. And Drake Maye looked better than Caleb Williams for a lot of 2024. And now he's got Josh McDaniels, real offensive coordinator in the system. Got a real head coach in Mike Vrabel. They went out and they got a number 1 wide receiver in Stefon Diggs. They have a left tackle they picked in the top 5 in the draft to help protect him. They got a receiver in the 3rd round that was supposedly a huge steal. So they got a running back in the 2nd round that was a major steal. So maybe everything is going Drake Maye's way. Or maybe you could poke holes in all of those things. Got a new coach, Mike Vrabel. Yep. Defensive coach. Got a new OC in Josh McDaniels, a guy who has succeeded at this position in this very franchise more than once. Guy I'm excited about. But all we heard this whole time here was how long it took everybody to get the playbook, grasp the playbook, especially receivers, running backs too. So are those guys going to be ready? So I have to ask that for Kyle Williams. He going to be ready? Notoriously, this playbook has been tough for young receivers to grasp. TreVeyon Henderson at running back, same thing. Shane Vereen, James White, both had to redshirt a year just to get the playbook down. You got your number one receiver, Stefon Diggs. Is he going to be able to play? He's coming off an ACL injury, the wrong side of 30. He's handed out pink cocaine on a boat. Drafted a left tackle at top 5. Did you? Did you draft a left tackle? Did you draft a guard in the top 5? See, there's all these kinds of things that are still major question marks for this team going into the 25 season. You can call me cynical. You could say I'm being a Debbie Downer about it, but I think those are legitimate questions for each one of those things. I don't know how much better their offensive line got. I don't really know how much better their wide receiver room got. It certainly got better with Stefon Diggs, and I do think he'll be able to play pretty soon after the start of the season, the regular season. Like, I think the 4-week IR thing is probably the longest he'll go, barring any major setbacks. But okay, does that take your wide receiver room from 32nd to 26th? How much does that help a young quarterback? You know what I mean? There's just all kinds of things that you could poke holes in here. And really what turned me on to this subject was, I think a lot of Boston media is talking about it. And in June, you can do this. You can talk about, your quarterback who looked good last year taking a massive leap in year two. But the reality is, not all quarterbacks take huge leaps in year two, including the last one that you developed for the Patriots. Mac Jones had an injury, but was also not as good in year two. You have a guy in Drake Maye who has a new offensive coordinator, just like Mac Jones had in his year two. That's a lot, man. And someone had the stat, like if you go back to high school, which is only like 6 years ago for Drake Maye, he's had like 4 different coordinators, 5 different coordinators. That's a lot of turnover, right? And here he is year 2 in the NFL. He's got a new head coach and new offensive coordinator. I mean, granted, unlike the Mac Jones situation, it's not Joe Judge and Matt Patricia. That's good. You have a real offensive coordinator in here. You had the guy that made Mac Jones a Pro Bowler in year 1. But I see this list. It was from NFL.com, and it was the top 10 guys likely to break out in 2025, year 2 guys. Drake Maye was number 1 on the list. Patriots have made a concerted effort this offseason to build around Maye, who had a highly impressive rookie year despite working behind a leaky offensive line and with minimal firepower around him. They talk about Mike Vrabel being hired, return of Josh McDaniels. The team wasted no time adding key veteran pieces around Maye this offseason, including Stefon Diggs and Mac Hollins at the receiver position. Again, I don't know how much Mac Hollins gives you. Morgan Moses on offensive tackle. Guy on the wrong side of 30. Only plays the right side and can hopefully give you half the season. Guard Wes Schweitzer and center Garrett Bradbury, who are both complete Jags, like total Jags. They are improvements over last year because they are guys who are replacement level NFL players. Like the very bare minimum NFL caliber players. And everyone playing on your offensive line last year was not NFL caliber. New England also selected 4 offensive players in the top 100 picks: Will Campbell, TreVeyon Henderson, Kyle Williams, and somebody else. So they did make a bit of an effort in the draft. But what holds me up on this is I'm like, okay, I can hear you out here. I have questions about this offensive line. I have questions about the receiver room. But yeah, they did definitely make a concerted effort here. Number 2 on the list is Caleb Williams. And all I could think of was, Drake Maye would have killed to have the lineup around him that Caleb Williams had last year. Would have absolutely loved it. And going into the 2024 season, everyone was really high on the skill position players for the Bears. Like, really high on them. And you had 2 top 10 picks that you used on a quarterback receiver combo. And so I'm like, man, if Caleb Williams can fall and is going to be second on this list with a much better offensive unit than Drake Maye had, then to me, that means there's no guarantee that Drake Maye just makes this elite jump in year 2. And I said it on the show a few weeks ago. If Drake Maye does make that elite jump and becomes a top 10 quarterback, which would be an elite jump, if he becomes better than guys like Tua, Dak Prescott, obviously Jared Goff might be in the top 5 at this point. Like if he makes a jump to become better than those guys, then yeah, the Patriots are going to the postseason. Like there's just no way they can't if he becomes that much better. They're going to win 10, 11 games, truly, with a last place schedule. But when I went over the schedule a few weeks ago, I thought, I can optimistically see about 9 wins here because they have what should be a really good defense, a top 10 defense. Maybe not a top 10 quarterback, but a top 10 defense. Because I just can't look at this roster right now and think, yeah, Drake Maye is going to start winning games by himself. Like, I have confidence in the ball being in Drake Maye's hands towards the end of a game I know he threw some picks in big spots last year. I remember that. He also had some big time drives, including the one against Tennessee, which tied the game with the old touchdown and 2-pointer. But I like Kyle Williams. I think he's got some upside. I think Efton Chisholm has some upside, the undrafted free agent wide receiver. I think Stefon Diggs plays and is an effective player. But overall, that's adding 1.5 good receivers to a lineup that had, let's be honest, 0 good receivers last year. He's still not dealing with the deck that Jaden Daniels is dealing with in Washington. And who knows? Terry McLaurin is apparently upset at the lack of a long-term deal there. Maybe he's out, and maybe Drake Maye's situation does become better. But I just don't see it. You look at Josh Allen, a guy who Drake Maye has been compared to quite a bit, right? Josh Allen had those guys early in his career, mainly Stefon Diggs. Like when they knew Josh Allen was ready to make the leap, they went out and got Stefon Diggs, which was a huge deal. And now he has one of the worst receiver rooms in the league, Josh Allen does, but he's an MVP quarterback and his team goes to the AFC Championship because he's an MVP quarterback. But that was year 7 that they got that. Year 7 is when they said, okay, here's where our guy can really cook. And he doesn't need to have elite, top-level, all-pro kind of receivers around him, weapons around him to help him. We're a long way from that. That's 5 years away on the Josh Allen scale for Drake Maye. So as much as I want these analysts to be right, as much as I want Drake Maye to be a top 10 quarterback to make a big jump in year 2, I've seen the Mac Jones thing. You know, and there's a quarterback every year, right? Trevor Lawrence. These guys who might not even be bums, but they just don't build off great rookie momentum. You know, they don't. It happens every year there's somebody. I hope Drake Maye isn't that guy. But I don't know that I've seen enough to be like, yeah, he's gonna be an elite quarterback. He's gonna be better than Tua in Miami. He's gonna be better than Dak out in Dallas. To be honest, can we say he's going to be better than Kyler Murray just yet? I don't know. There is something that I think he can add to his game that would help propel him towards that top tier very quickly, but it could also jeopardize his career, which is the kid's a hell of a runner. Okay. And I think the Patriots were the only team in the league last year that didn't have a designed quarterback run, which even though he's supposed to be your future franchise quarterback and you want to keep him safe, that is asinine when you have no offensive line and no receivers and you have a kid who's a really terrific athlete and get out of the pocket and run. I think that part of his game can elevate him quickly to a top 10 quarterback because I think he'll have that kind of juice. He's not the athlete this guy is, but like Lamar Jackson was an MVP in his second year in the league. Because of stuff like that. Because he could, have an extra element to his game and kill teams on the ground. But if Drake Maye does becomes a guy that gets out of the pocket more, like Lamar Jackson did early in his career, like Josh Allen did early in his career, that could jeopardize the long-term future. There's a reason those guys mostly stay in the pocket now, and when they don't, they're sliding, because they're the franchise quarterback. Drake Maye doesn't know how to slide. 2 head injuries last year, left 2 games because of getting out of the pocket and running. So, again, as much as I want Drake Maye to make that leap, and I think he's going to be a better player in year 2 than he was in year 1. Let's not get that twisted. This anointing of him becoming a top 10 quarterback and single-handedly leading the Patriots to victories with his right arm, it's a little tough for me to follow at this point. It's in year 1 of a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator, and not a terrible amount of improvement in the receiver room. Like, yes, you went from -10 to 1 or 2 on the scale, right? By getting Stefon Diggs and maybe Kyle Williams playing this year. Maybe Jalen Polk is a guy who can bounce back. But that's a lot of question marks already. That's a lot of it. And I think Josh makes a good point in the comment section here. For those of you watching, get involved in that comment section. Drake at the moment is about 15th or so best quarterback. And the stats might not back that up, but I think that's a fair assessment. A top half, barely, top half in the league. Okay? He's not a bum. There's a bunch of teams that just throw out Jags, right? He's not that. Okay, he's better than that. But they do need to protect him better. And they do need to get him some weapons. That's what we say about every young quarterback. Drake Maye is no different. And I think the Patriots have taken a step there this year, but we've been used to just such bad football the last few years and such terrible, terrible name brand recognition on this offense, both at the line and specifically at wide receiver, that we see this lineup now and we think, ooh, hold on to your horses. Here it comes. And I just don't know if I can get on board with that just yet in 2025. I think they will win games based on their defense, and I think Drake Maye will be a better quarterback. That's a good start. That gets you towards real contention if you keep doing your job and doing things well by 2027, maybe even 2026. Like, I'm talking real contention. I think Patriots fans would take that at this point. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Can Drake Maye lead them to the postseason this year in 2025? Where do you expect him to be amongst NFL quarterbacks by the end of his sophomore season? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the other videos we got on YouTube right now, talking about Patriots and everything Boston sports. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week live on YouTube and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. Coming up next, I was really hoping the Bruins would play the waiting game. They didn't. And now they might be getting punished for that. Should the Bruins have waited for Peter DeBoer? Let's talk about that next on The Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
Welcome to Kitbag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, we've got your team's colors running through our veins. From official replica kits to custom player prints of your favorite stars like Ronaldo, Messi, and Kane, Kitbag is your one-stop shop for all things football. Powered by Fanatics, we deliver to over 180 countries, ensuring you get the gear you need fast. For true football passion, think Kitbag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's kitbag.com. Kitbag. For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us on our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com. Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Since 2003, we've been connecting buyers and sellers, providing access to sold-out events at prices lower than most secondary market options. Whether it's sports, theater, or concerts, our massive nationwide network ensures you get the tickets you want, guaranteed. For the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. That's TICKETLIQUIDATOR.com. Ticket Liquidator.
I'm Hunter, the founder of Hello Cake, and today we're digging into ED meds. The number one thing we hear is that guys are sick of waiting for ED meds to kick in. Traditional ED meds take about an hour to kick in as they have to go through your digestive system, where Hello Cake's ED medication dissolves under your tongue and works in about 15 minutes. That's about 3 times faster than traditional ED medication. Curious about ED meds? Go to hellocake.com.
And now, back to our show.
Back on the show, we call it The Cam Show. Here on Rogue Media Sports Network, I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week. We're going to hear from Zach in a little bit here, by the way, because we already talked about Drake Maye and the possible jump he could make to be a top 10 quarterback in 2025. We poked some holes in it, too. And next, we will be talking about the best rematches in sports history, as we are in one right now, potentially, in the Stanley Cup final. So what are the best ones that we have seen? Now, though, we will talk some hockey here. We'll talk the Bruins. I went on a tirade yesterday, so to speak, about the Bruins hiring Marco Sturm as their next head coach. I wasn't wild about the Marco Sturm hire when it was made on Thursday. I'm really not that jazzed about it on Friday when really my worst nightmare came true. Earlier in the week, I said, man, the Bruins might be falling kind of ass backwards into this thing. Like, it was a mistake, I think, it wasn't a good thing that they waited that long to hire a coach. But if they just hold on and see what's going on in Dallas, they could potentially get one of the best coaches in the NHL in Peter DeBoer. There was rumors that the players were upset with how he handled the Western Conference Final, pulling Ottinger, all this stuff. And lo and behold, not yet 24 hours after the Bruins made their coaching hire for Marco Sturm, Peter DeBoer is shit-canned and is on the market. It's cruel, man. It's just cruel. It sucks. I don't know if the Stars were pulling some shit of like, hey, we don't want him to be coaching against us next year, so we're going to wait till everyone has their coaching vacancies filled. I don't know. It's not like, I don't think the Penguins and the Bruins are going to be a real threat to the Stars next year. They're not going to make the playoffs, and they're not in the same conference. But lo and behold, after everyone has made their coaching hire, the Stars fire Pete DeBoer, largely thanks to his antics in Game 5 of the Western Conference Final. Man, I can't remember an NHL coach in my lifetime that just fizzled quite like that. Like that just happened. Because there was no rumors that we heard as a greater NHL audience of Peter DeBoer being a problem with the Stars, or, his play style not going over well, or the players not liking him. He's undefeated in Game 7s. He's ran himself out of places before. He was fired in Vegas and San Jose, and, it happens. New Jersey. But he took 2 teams to the Stanley Cup final. He's been in the conference final with every team he's been on since his first job, which was Florida. And he's just yet to win the Stanley Cup. He's one of the best probably one of the best coaches in the history of the league to not win the Stanley Cup. And yet, things were going fine, man. The Stars win that dramatic Game 7 in the first round, another Pete DeBoer Game 7 win. It felt like they cruised against Winnipeg, even though it went 6 games. And then they win Game 1 of the conference final, and everything's going well in Starland around Peter DeBoer. And then, bam, 4 straight losses, pulls the franchise goalie 7 minutes into an elimination game. And all of a sudden, he's gone. And the Dallas fans are okay with it. Like, okay, he's gone. This could haunt the Bruins because somebody's going to get Peter DeBoer probably as early as the middle of next season, I would say. Right? Like, somebody's going to pull this Jim Montgomery thing. They're going to fire him in November or December, and they're going to hire Peter DeBoer. And it's probably going to be a good team, playoff team. And Peter DeBoer is going to, win a round or 2 for them. So, this is going to happen. Book it. And here the Bruins are going to sit bad, right? Still bad. Frustrating that they're not developing any of their young talent, which is what Marco Sturm is great at. And the Bruins will have Marco Sturm, and somebody else will have Peter DeBoer. It's talking out of both sides of my mouth a little bit because I hated how long it took the Bruins to make the hire, but I really did wish, and I said this yesterday, even in the wake of them making the hire, I do wish they would have waited to see what happened to Dallas. You weren't bidding against anybody. Right? At that point, you were the last team to make the hire. So at that point, it's kind of like, who gives a shit if it's June 5th or June 9th? You're still pretty close to the draft. You're still the only one that's looking for a coach. Yeah. So I think this is a mistake by the Bruins by not waiting to see if Peter DeBoer was going to get fired. I'm sure they did some sort of due diligence. I'm sure they kicked some tires, but clearly they got bad info. He got fired the next fucking day. Somebody's going to have Peter DeBoer. Somebody in the postseason next year is going to have Peter DeBoer as their head coach, and the Bruins are going to have Marco Sturm. with all the same assistants, which leads me to my next point. Even if the Bruins were still looking for a coach today, Friday, June 6th, Cam Neely's birthday, do you think they would have actually hired Pete? Because I would love for the answer to be yes. Because there would be no reason for them to not be hiring Pete, right? Like, no reason. Oh, he's never won the Stanley Cup. How about we get to the playoffs first? His teams make the playoffs every single year. And they go to the conference finals a lot, okay? He's taken 3 different teams to the conference finals in the last 6 years. That's pretty incredible. But he's going to demand a lot of money because he's a good coach. He is going to want some sort of control over who gets called up and who gets sent down, which Jim Montgomery did not have. He would also like some control over who he would bring in as his assistant coaches. He's done this for a long time. Marco Sturm ain't going to put up that kind of stink. Jim Montgomery, a year or 2 out of rehab, coming out of college hockey ranks, he's not going to put up that kind of stink. Bruce Cassidy, of course not. He was promoted. He's not going to put up that kind of stink. Everyone that Don Sweeney has hired has kept the coaching staff because Don Sweeney can control them. And that's probably a huge reason why those are the 3 guys that he hired. He promoted an AHL coach. He brought a guy who had been a somewhat successful coach in Dallas, Jim Montgomery, who had to completely reset his career, go back to coaching college hockey, and then brought him in. So you don't think that guy's controllable? He's just looking to get back in the league any way possible. Marco Sturm, not an NHL head coach. So yeah, he's controllable. He wants to be a head coach in the NHL. Pete DeBoer is not that. Pete DeBoer is not going to get pushed around. He's not going to get put in the corner. I mean, as evidenced by the fact that in an elimination game, he benched his star goalie 7 minutes in. Did it cost him his job? Sounds like it, but he's not going to get pushed around. I think that was probably the reason why they didn't hire Misha Donskov, the Dallas Stars assistant, who apparently early in the process they loved. A guy whose acumen I kind of liked. I liked his profile, even though he had never been a head coach. But he had worked in a front office before. He was an assistant on a Stanley Cup winning team. He was an assistant on a team that just made the Western Conference Finals, the Dallas Stars. AKA, he had guys he was going to be able to bring in. He had contacts around the league. Marco Sturm doesn't. Jim Montgomery didn't. Bruce Cassidy didn't. So all that said, if Pete DeBoer, potential Hall of Fame coach, becomes available, when you're the only team that has a vacancy, were the Bruins going to hire him? Probably not. And that's a really damning mark on the Bruins because he would be too expensive. They didn't want to spend the money, and he's not on puppet strings. Cut those puppet strings off a long time ago. Marco Sturm, he still got him, baby. Mitch Love would have probably had him. Assistant from Washington. Jay Woodcroft, kind of like a Jim Montgomery situation. Just trying to get back in the league anyway, trying to be a head coach again. He would have had him. Peter DeBoer would not have had the puppet strings. And that's probably one of the big reasons why they made the Marco Sturm hire. Because I actually do think they checked in on this through some connections in Dallas and just saying like, hey, what are the odds of this? Is he actually going to get fired? What would he be looking for? Who would he bring with him? We can't do that. Can't do that. One last thing on the Marco Sturm thing. By the way, you get involved in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about the Marco Sturm hire. Because, again, I can't be too titillated by it. I really can't. I'm sorry. I know I'm negative about this, but it just doesn't excite me. And I should stop doing this because it's a disease. And I get ill whenever I put on sports talk radio, specifically Felger and Maz. But I was like, I'll hear them out today because I want to bitch too. And Felger brings up a good point. And he lists all the coaches that went through the Bruins during the Jacobs family reign. And there's like 2 names in there, right? Like Rick Bowness and Pat Burns, who had been coaches other places. Bowness actually, his first stop was in Boston, but went on to have a career. Mike Keenan was done. He was absolutely fed up at that point that the Bruins hired him. But all the rest are like, John Rattel and Terry O'Reilly and Jerry Cheevers and Mike Milbury and all these former Bruins, Steve Casper. And Maz says something like, at least those guys had some juice to them, had some familiarity, some name recognition. And I'm like, this is where they get the Bruins fans hook, line, and fucking sinker. Because he's like, I've never heard of Marco Sturm. I don't remember Marco Sturm. The Marco Sturm hire is no different than the Jerry Cheevers hire, the Terry O'Reilly hire, the Mike Milbury hire. They were all guys who had not been head coaches in the league. They had some kind of coaching experience, assistant coaches, AHL coaches, Maine Mariners, whatever the fuck. Guys with no real tangible NHL head coaching experience that came in because they were Bruins. And what those guys all had in common is they probably held the team back. Those teams didn't win Stanley Cups. You know, Terry O'Reilly was the coach in '88. They got blown away in the final by Gretzky's Edmonton, right? 1990, they win the President's Trophy under Milbury. They're a better team than the Oilers, which doesn't have Gretzky anymore. Bam, 5 games, wiped away. This is what I mean by the Bruins in their history. They have done this time and time again for decades and decades. They hire guys that you have heard of, who they can control, who they can keep on the puppet strings, and more often than not, it holds them back. There's a reason why they've won 1 cup in the last 50 years. The whole time the Jacobs family has been owning them. 1 cup. And it's mainly because of guys like that. And keeping those kind of guys in the front office as well. Cam Neely and Don Sweeney. Because they're Bruins, baby. Let me know what you guys think about the hire and what they would have done with Pete DeBoer. Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, get notified whenever we're dropping videos. We're going live every weekday, high noon Eastern time on YouTube and then wherever you get your podcast as well. Check out the other videos on the channel talking a lot of Bruins and Boston sports. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week. When we come back, the greatest rematches in sports history, according to us. That's next on The Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at Ulike, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ulike.com. Ulike. With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AMP-Pay.
AMP-Pace.
And now, back to our show.
Get back to it. Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air. Let's call to the bullpen. Let's call Zach into this thing. Whoa, there he is. There he is. Getting that right arm warm.
Yeah, I've been waiting.
Doing the stretching. Long time.
Yeah, my music's playing. I'm getting ready to, get out there.
So Zach, I wanted to bring you in because it's Friday, and that's the only time we let you out of your cage.
Thank you.
It's Friday, last segment. But we kind of talk general sports topics here. We like lists and things like that. So we're in the midst of a Stanley Cup final rematch. Game 2 is tonight, Edmonton and Florida. And it doesn't happen often. And usually when it does happen, it's almost kind of lame a lot of the time. You know, the NBA, it happens more often. And it's like, oh, Cleveland Golden State for the 4th year in a row. Like, okay, it get kind of old. So what we wanted to do today is highlight the best rematches in sports history. Now, there are some different parameters here. We're not talking about just facing off in the final series or the final game for 2 years in a row. You know why? Because I think that hamstrings us. I think that doesn't take into account some of the best rematches ever. So what we've done is we've opened it up to not just the final round, but also the semifinals. And I have allowed Zach to pick ones that have happened within a 4-year span. I think that is fair. That still gets a lot because there's some great ones. I'll give you an example that we don't use on here, but I hope Zach doesn't use it. 2008 and 2010, the Celtics played the Lakers in the finals both times. That's twice in 3 years. That's a pretty good one.
I thought about a couple NBA ones. That was one that came up, but it's not one that I picked.
So how do you want to do this? You want to switch off? We each do. We go back and forth, popcorn it?
We can do that. Can I try? I thought did you want us to bring stuff to it, or because I didn't know if I brought pictures.
Yeah, just a picture.
What I'm saying.
Just a picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here,
spice it up a little bit.
I'm going to try this, and this might fail miserably. I didn't know how it would bring it in.
Which would be funny.
Yeah, no, I'll keep talking while I'm doing this, though, because I made a slideshow so I could go.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, and then we can just move it and then pull it back up. I'm trying to find it. Okay, I think this is it. So, as it's processing the slideshow, I thought long and hard. This is great. I know this is just great radio. Here we go. I thought long and hard about it through all of sports, right?
Yep. And I let you really run wild with this.
You did.
Yeah.
And one rematch that I think that every time that I would see it, it's one that happened a lot, right? Mm-hmm. And every time I would sit on the edge of my chair just waiting to see what would happen. And every time it came out the same way. Sorry, I went gag. Okay. So here we go. Take that back. Actual real one. I'm going to start with boxing because I talked to Cam about this. Okay. Actual one. So this is one that I think the rematch was better than the first one. A lot of controversy in the way it ended, but still. Oh, never mind. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. I went two. I pulled the mic. I went second gag. Now I'm going to go serious. So.
Like a Mike Hamilton, gags.
I went 2 gags, in honor of Mike. Honestly, though, I am going to stick to boxing, and what I'm going to do for my first one is Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti. It's a trilogy, so I mean, technically, I guess you pick which one I want it to count as the greatest rematch, and I'm going to make it the third one. But just everything that goes into this fight to me is kind of what sports as a whole is about. It's what you want it to be. And it doesn't matter that necessarily that it's just boxing. It's, 2 guys who completely respected each other, who gave it everything they had. These are some of the most brutal fights that you were going to watch if you like boxing, where both competitors give it everything they have and it. In the second fight, Mickey Ward fights with a busted eardrum for most of the fight. In the final fight, which I'm going to pick as the best rematch that Arturo Gatti ends up winning, he broke his hand in the 4th round and fights the rest of that fight with a broken hand. These are 2 guys that gave it everything they have. You're a fan of movies and stuff. I'm sure you've seen The Fighter.
Yep.
Great movie. The kind of guy that Mickey Ward was. And when they made this fight in the first one, there's a really good HBO documentary back when they used to,
excellent.
Make documentaries about their fight games and stuff like that, of just this rivalry. And they set it up trying to get Arturo just somebody to fight to get him back. He had suffered a loss. He was still the young guy, and they wanted to get him back on track to fight for a title. And they just thought, Mickey, he'll be a good fight. That'll be fine. And they didn't think anything of it. And Mickey Ward comes out and ends up winning fight 1. He tests Gatti to his full limit. And then it sets up the rematch for fight 2, which Gatti ends up winning. And then the third one where it's just so emotional from both of them. And it's the images that I have there. And the end of it afterwards. It's
Arturo Thunder Gatti.
I love it. It's so big. And so Mickey Ward retires after the fight. This is it. He hangs it up afterwards. And even in the it's sad that it's in this because Arturo Gatti later dies of let's say questionable circumstances.
Yes, a controversial conspiratorial
Yes.
death. Yeah.
But there is a 60 minutes that they did on the death of Arturo Gatti. But one of the things is a quote from Mickey Ward that's in there that's not about his death, but about these fights in general, where he talks about they made the fighter about me and they neglected to put my greatest fights of my entire career in there. And that was the 3 against Arturo Gatti. So I thought rematch would be easy with boxing. I know everybody, if you're a big boxing guy, will think like, oh, Ali Frazier and stuff like that. For me, like this was my childhood. I remember watching like most of these or all of these on like HBO with my dad or Showtime, wherever they were. So like this was big to me. And I remember watching the third one because Arturo Gatti was my favorite boxer as a kid, of just being like, oh, they split. Like, how's this? I say as a kid, I mean, I'm, a teenager still at this time, but glued to my TV. So for me, yeah, this was one of them.
That's pretty good, man. And that was, I know there's much has been made about the fate of boxing, but to me, that's kind of the last great, like that was appointment television on pay-per-view. If
the other one that I'll add just a little bit that I thought about doing, but it's purely just on controversial was Holyfield and Tyson, because it was the rematch where Tyson bit Holyfield's ear. Yeah.
Wow.
I just thought, yeah. But
speaking of, I'm surprised no bitings of the year happened in my number 3 pick. And that is the 1985 NBA Finals between the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers. Yeah, so it doesn't do too great for me because the Celtics lost this one, but the 84 Finals was a bloodbath. Like that was the 7-gamer. The Celtics win in 7. That was the clothesline, Kurt Rambis, all this stuff. And it was like a collision course all year the next year for these two to meet again. The Lakers had still never beaten the Celtics in the finals. And this was the Memorial Day Massacre. The Celtics won game 1 by like, I think it was 39 points in the Boston Garden. And then they lose the series. They somehow lose the series. I say somehow. Obviously, the Lakers were really good. But this was the Lakers winning in game 6 at Boston Garden. First time they had ever beaten the Celtics. The NBA, I know this is a tired take, but the NBA was at its peak with those two teams in the 80s, in my opinion, even though I didn't live through it. And this is the peak of it. This is now 1-1. We won't go over how it went in 87. I really wish they had played in 86, man. That could have very easily been 4 straight finals appearance or 4 straight finals matchups between those two teams. But 84 and 85, man, doesn't get much better than that for the NBA, for Celtics Lakers. They each got one. Classic pure hatred. So that is my number 3.
So my number 2, I thought we talked about basketball. I thought a lot about basketball of trying to figure out one. And I located one before I got there. I thought about those Warriors Cavs. Like that was 4 years. So, I mean, that was the Cavs got one, but still like that was something to be said there. And then I thought about a little bit before, and it's a shot that stays in my head because I remember it, and it's Ray Allen in the corner for the Heat. And then you got the Heat Spurs in back-to-back of the rematch for the finals. But I decided to go to the college game for mine.
Did you? Yeah.
I did. And I'm going to set the scene of saying that it's the 1990 NCAA championship game, right?
Is it?
It is. And there is a phenomenal team out of Las Vegas, coached by Jerry Tarkanian, Larry Johnson, Stacey Augmon, Greg Anthony are on that
George
team.
Ackles,
Yeah, and they just absolutely run roughshot over a Duke team. 103 to 73.
You nailed it. 103-73.
Okay.
Yep.
So what is that? It's a 40 point.
30
oh my
point.
God. 30 point. Sorry.
Largest margin of victory in the history of the national championship game.
And I mean, and this was a good Duke team, like Leitner and Hurley, like.
Yep. So Hurley was a freshman. Leitner, the Hill was not there yet, but Leitner was there. Brian Davis, they had made the Final Four the year before as well. So yeah, that was a loaded Duke team.
Then the next year, well, it's a little bit of a different story. So what I love here too, though, is somehow I'm trying to figure out how to get our graphics back up there. There we go. It's the UNLV team doesn't lose until this Final Four game then too. So that's what to me makes this an even better matchup. Is it is the team that they. First of all, before I get into this, there is not a team in college basketball I hate more than the Duke Blue Devils. I feel like I need to get that out of my system because it pains me to give them credit for this. But story-wise, it is phenomenal to have a team that just gets boat raced by 30 points in the championship the year before to face and run into the same juggernaut of a team that might even be looking better because they had not lost since then. I think there were 45 straight wins at that point.
Something like that,
yeah. Like a juggernaut, and to have just such a physical, just drag out kind of fight to pull off a 2-point win and then to go on and win the title. And I think they repeated then next year.
Yep.
Like this kick starts kind of the Duke dynasty the 90s. So that's why I'd say it added too. It's not only them slaying their dragon from the year before, it's then, hey, we're Duke basketball and we're here. So
yeah,
it's twofold.
Which I'm going to interject here because it kind of goes hand in hand with my number 2, which is, it is the 1991 national semifinal. How about that, man? Those were 2 great lines right there.
It is. Well, then I'm interested to see what our first one is because
we might have the same number 1.
I think we do.
But that's good, man. That's good because we're running out of time. But yeah, so to add on to that a little bit, because I mean, you nailed it. Like, not only are they the national champs from the year before, and this won't ever happen again, right? National champs the year before, they bring everybody back, and then they're undefeated. Like, you thought that Gonzaga team in 21 had hype with being undefeated. How about if they won the championship the year before and they were the most interesting team in college basketball? And it's also
brought everybody back,
Yeah, and this is the best upset of a 2 seed versus a 1 seed in the history of basketball because nobody gave Duke a shot in that game. Nobody. No. Even though they were very good, we had seen it. Like, that's the thing that we don't see with college sports anymore. We saw these 2 teams face up last year. Basically the same thing. Grant Hill gets added. Billy McCaffrey, Christian's uncle, gets subtracted. He beats Duke. But it's pretty much the same. And if you have the chance to, I know there's some people that can't like go back and watch a full game because they know what happens. Watch that full game, man.
It's good.
Unbelievable entertainment value, and then go watch Duke Kentucky in '92 with Leitner's shot. Unbelievable. But
you could do your number 1 then, because I have a feeling I know where we're going.
So this was I was not born yet for '91, but very special for me. Those Duke teams, as you know by now, I grew up a humongous Duke fan, and I would say this team has something to do with my name. So Bill, my dad, went to Duke for grad school, named me after the stadium. And had great memories at Cameron Indoor Stadium anyway. But like you say, in the 90s, Duke takes over and he becomes all in on Duke basketball. And he watches every game he can. And so I think that had a lot to do with my name too. But yes, 91, incredible turnaround from one year to the next. Totally stunned UNLV. They'd never played in a close game. They didn't know how to handle themselves. Anderson Hunt's just jacking up a 3 with like 6 seconds left. They couldn't believe it. Anyway, yes, my number 1. I think we'll probably be on the same page here. And this is the exact reason we saw it with the last one, but this is the reason why I extended it to the semifinals as well as the finals, because I don't know that you can get a better rematch in the history of sports than 2003, 2004 ALCS Red Sox, Yankees. I don't know that we'll ever get a better rematch than that. And of course I have an extreme bias. Like this is what gets me into sports and makes me the mentally ill man that I am today. Like this right here, right? Red Sox are actually playing the Yankees tonight, and it gets brought up every time they play now that it's just not the same rivalry, because this was the peak of it. Like, this doesn't get any better than this. The context, 26-0 in World Series since 1918 at that point. The Yankees are the dynasty. They're the Yankees. The Red Sox are the lovable losers. In 2003, they absolutely had a chance to beat them. The Red Sox did. They win game 1 of that series. It ends up going to game 7. They're up 5-2 in the 8th inning in Game 7 at Yankee Stadium with the greatest pitcher in their history on the mound, who shouldn't have been on the mound anymore. I'm not putting it all on Pedro, but obviously the Yankees tie it. Boone hits the series-winning homer. And the whole next year, the whole offseason, the whole next season, it is this hyper-intense focus. 19 games versus the Yankees, plus another 7 in the championship series. So let's do the math there. That's 52 times they played in a 2-year span. 52 times, and all of them were appointment television. They actually didn't like each other. In a weird way, I know this is getting like way meta with it, or schmaltzy even, but like in a way, like Red Sox fans knew that's what they had to get over. Like if they won the World Series, but they beat Anaheim, Detroit, and St. Louis, like that wasn't going to do it. They needed to get over the Yankees. And of course, we all know the story of 2004. I mean, there's been 15 documentaries about it. The first team ever to come back from 3-0 to win a series. Like 2003 is one of the greatest championship series ever played, ever. And it gets forgotten. I mean, probably not with Yankee fans, right? But it gets overshadowed because the next year they played one that was probably even better.
Yeah.
It is, there's nothing, I don't know if there will be a rivalry in professional sports that will have a peak like those 2 years.
Oh, for sure.
Red Sox, yeah. Like, I mean, the Patriots, by the way, the Patriots are winning Super Bowls at this point. They win back-to-back, 2003 and 2004. They win 21 straight games. And yet in October, when they are setting the all-time NFL wins record 3 years after being completely fucking irrelevant, all anybody can talk about is Red Sox Yankees. Anything.
Yeah. No, and like that's the thing is I think we've talked about it obviously. I'm a Rangers fan, but I do enjoy baseball. Like I love baseball as a whole. And I remember those series. You're right. It was appointment TV. Like I miss the times where, and there have been other series and times throughout multiple sports where it's like this, but certainly at that point in time, whenever the Yankees and Red Sox played, it was just good for baseball. And you would sit there and you would just follow just to see it. Like I watched both of those ALCS, and it's something that I don't do a lot now, but it was because the rivalry that was there, like drew me in. And I knew, hey, if anything, I'm about to watch some damn good baseball, no matter what the teams are. And to see the trading back and forth like that, like I know it's been done to death. Like you've talked about, there's, documentary after documentary.
By the way, we don't even have the A-Rod thing in the middle there.
Oh, you're right.
They were both going for A-Rod. Like A-Rod. Both off seasons were with an eye towards the other team. Yeah. Go ahead.
But God, it's one of the moments and I know I've told you this, it still gets me every time I hear it. And it's Kevin Millar's, they better not let us win tonight. It's still like it's not my team, has nothing to do with me, but it is such good, just like sports, like as a whole, like because I love it.
Because hey, then we got PD going Game 5.
Yes.
Got Big Shill Game 6. Then Game 7, anything can happen. We can have you out there. Dan Shaughnessy playing second, batting ninth. Yeah, it's and like I don't want to go too much into it because again, you can watch the billions of documentaries, but like thinking of this piece by piece as someone who, 20 years later has watched a lot of sports. It's like, okay, rematch of those two great rivals, 2 7-game series. That's already historic. Like that is awesome baseball. Then you take into account, okay, the context, right? The context is a whole nother character in this, right? The 26-0 in World Series. But then you also take only team ever to come back from 3-0. Oh my God, we're never going to see that again. And then we go to how they did it. They're down in the 9th inning in Game 4, about to get swept with the greatest closer in the history of the sport on the mound. More people have walked on the moon than have scored against Mariano Rivera in postseason baseball. They come back from that and then do it the next night and then win 2 in Yankee Stadium.
Is it Game 5 the one that goes to like 1 a.m, or is that
Yes. That one goes to the 12th inning. Yeah. They tied it in the 8th in that one. It was the same thing. Dave Roberts pinch ran. He stole second. And then he scored on a sacrifice fly. I don't remember. He got to third. Sorry. Scored on a Jason Varitek sacrifice fly. Ortiz wins it with a single in the 12th or the 14th or whatever it was. So yeah, Duke and UNLV, Red Sox, Yankees, man.
We disagreed on number 3, but still the other 2.
Yeah.
You know when we didn't bring up.
Thought about Hagler.
I just thought about it. Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought about it.
Dude, that's
those are great fights, man.
They do.
Go back and watch some of those.
They are. That's one of the things that I remember hunting those down. Like they would replay also old fights on HBO, and my dad was always a big boxing guy. Like that's one of the things we were able to bond over. And when he finally pulled those up, and he would be so excited to show them to me. Oh yeah. One that we didn't bring up that I feel like is a pretty big rematch to some people, at least in the New York area, would probably be the Giants and Patriots.
Yeah, I thought about that, and I really genuinely thought about him as being there. Maybe it's just because I'm a sore loser. I just don't like, you know what I mean? It was 4 years apart.
Yeah.
They weren't really the same teams outside of the quarterbacks. They're both entertaining games, but I wouldn't put either of them in like the top 5 Super Bowls ever played.
Okay, fair enough.
Not quite the drama. So yeah, it's probably because I'm a sore loser. In essence, that's probably why. And I've blocked a lot of it out.
That works.
They were 2 very good games.
They were. All right.
I like a revenge factor. All of these had revenge. Teams getting revenge.
They did.
So
exactly.
Maybe that was it.
No, I'll add last one little thing and I'll get out of the way because I've talked way too long today. Tomorrow is also then it's weird when you have anniversaries on odd years, but then the 22-year anniversary of the third fight between Ward and Gotti. I just saw one looking up that it was June 7th. So there you go. In 2003. So 22 years ago. Yeah, I was just adding that.
Might watch it. Go watch the documentary if you haven't. On
HBO.
It's good. It's fucking incredible. Anyway, thank you, Zach. I appreciate that. That is going to do it for the week in the Cam Show history, Cam Show lore. Tell me your best rematch. Let me know your favorite rematch down in the comment section below. Maybe it is the Giants Patriots. Shit on me a little bit. I don't care. Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are coming at you live on YouTube, high noon Eastern time every weekday, and then wherever you get your podcast. So we will see you on Monday on a little ditty that we like to call The Cam Show.
Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office. Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hanomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit internext.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today. Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. We understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit TwoSains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.